Let's now talk about the MongoDB. And whenever I start something like MongoDB, the very first thing comes in my mind is, what is MongoDB? So when I say like MongoDB, it's basically comes in my mind like it's a database. But MongoDB is a open source document database. And when I say open source, that means you can see the code base, you can use it without paying anything, and that's really amazing and game-changing thing. MongoDB is also a NoSQL or NoSQL database. Now, if you have any knowledge or any experience with MySQL database or Postgres database, these are relational database. That means the data you store inside the database has some relation. But here in MongoDB, there is no relation. So that's why it's NoSQL or NoSQL database. Come to the core part of MongoDB. MongoDB is written in C++, and when something is written in C++, it is having really high speed, and that's why high performance. MongoDB also gives you the ability to have the cluster of your database, and that's why it is having really high availability. Now, MongoDB is so powerful that it is used for a large scale of data. And I can say that in a different word, like MongoDB can handle humongous database. And when I say the word humongous, I really say that humongous Mongo. So Mongo word actually comes from the word humongous, which means really huge, really large. So that's why MongoDB can handle humongous database. Okay, so if I say MongoDB is a NoSQL database, so what I can relate with a relational database like MySQL and Postgres. So if you have knowledge of MySQL, you may heard about the database. So same is in MongoDB. But in relational database, you call tables. But in MongoDB, we don't call table, we call it collections. And there is a specific reason for calling this as a collection, not a table. Every table, I'm not talking about just the relational database table. Every table has a fixed structure. How many rows it has, how many columns it has. But when I say collection of anything, collection can be anything, no structure. And this is the real power of MongoDB. It doesn't have any schema. Okay. Now, the rows we call in relational database, but here in MongoDB, we call it document because it's not connected to any schema. It's just the part of collection. So that's why we call it document. Also, in relational database, we call columns, but here we have the fields because there is no schema, there is no structure. So we just call it field. Okay. Now, you have the really powerful thing in relational database, which is called joins. But since we don't have any relation in MongoDB, we call it embedded document. So if user has many posts, we can actually put all the posts inside of the user collection. So that's why embedded document. So document inside of the document. This is called the embedded document, and here is the relation, or I can say you can think about what you call something in Mongo related to the relational database. So this is the real thing. Now let's move to the next question, is how the MongoDB database is structured. As I told you, let me explain you in detail. So suppose we have a MongoDB database. Now inside you can have one collection. That collection can have single document. It can have more than 2, 3, any number of documents. So collection to the document. Now you can also have more than one collection, and similar to that, we can have more than one document inside the collection. So the hierarchy is something like database, collection, document, and inside the document we should have the fields. So now let's see some example. And here we have a very nice example which is again taken from the MongoDB website. Here we can see we have an object. This seems like a normal object, but actually this is the document of the MongoDB. Remember, document is just like the data we have. And one thing to notice here, this document has embedded document, or I can say document inside of the document. So the student name is this, but the student is having the information about their school. And now school have another fields, and this is the document embedded inside of the other document. Now think about this thing, the full bracket to bracket thing is the collection. So collection of what? Collection of students. So think about students, collection as the table in relational database. And there should be some DB, the database, we may call it school or college or anything. So this is just the introduction, but we will see how everything is going to be set up. Okay, so what next? Why we need to use the MongoDB? What is the advantages of Mongo? So Mongo, as we know, is schemaless. Now schemaless, it doesn't have any structure. Since it doesn't have any structure of the table or how you can store the database, you can store literally anything anywhere. Yes, this is the real power. There is no joins. Since there is no schema, there is no relation. So that's why no relation database. If there is no relation, there should be no joins. The speed is really fast since it's written in C++ and it's really having fast engine to get the data. It's really impressively fast. It has the primary key setup by default. You don't have to worry about how you can manage the primary key of your table or of your collection, I can say. Yeah, so MongoDB will take care about the primary key. It has really powerful query and analytics, which is giving you the power to look into the data you have inside the MongoDB database. And finally, it is really easy to scale out. Also, MongoDB can be used in big data, in consistent management and delivery system, to create a data hub 2 times, mobile and social infrastructure, and many more fields. And that's why we need to consider MongoDB, because this is the real future. So let's now see how you can install the MongoDB in your system. To get started with MongoDB, you need to go to this website. The website name is mongodb.com. Simple. Now, here lots of things are happening. Amazing website, but little confusing just for the beginner. So the real thing is inside this resources tab. If you just hover over it, you will find amazing content here. But what we are interested inside of this document tab. So we have this document, click here, and then we land into the document world. Document basically means how to use the MongoDB in different cases, really from the scratch. So this tab, or this card I can say, is use MongoDB. Let's click on this, and I'm taking you through the document, which is extremely important. And remember, I always say this thing, that documentation is the king. And when I say documentation is the king, I totally mean it. And whatever I have learned is from the documentation, and that's how you need to learn how to use the documentation for your learning. And that's why I will not take you directly like do this, do that. I will take you from the documentation, and then so that you can actually follow along with me, or maybe without me. Okay, so let's click here, get started with MongoDB. So the first thing it says is how you can install. So there are some introduction which we have already done. So you can go on the installation part, and then you can find the installation for your community edition. Now they also have the enterprise edition. Now what is enterprise edition? So the company behind MongoDB is also named as MongoDB. So since it's a company, they need the money, they need revenue. So they have created this enterprise edition, which is having more added security, team system, and much more, which is absolutely required, or I can say only required for enterprise people, for bigger company, the largest company in the world. So they will pay for the service of enterprise MongoDB. But since we just want to learn, we want to use it as an open source, and that's why they have this Mongo Community Edition. So we will focus only on this Community Edition. Let's click here on this Community Edition, and according to your operating system, you can go and install MongoDB. The thing you need to consider is, if you are on macOS, then you can just use the brew to install the community edition. But with the brew, the community edition, you can also get the MongoSH, the Mongo shell, or I can call it Mongosh. But with Windows installation, if you install this MongoDB service, you can directly download this MongoDB MSI file and then open it and use the wizard to install it. That's easy, but you have to install the Mongosh explicitly, the thing which is going to help you to access the MongoDB from your shell, from your command prompt, I can say. So since I am on the macOS, I will follow this thing, which is for the installation of MongoDB, and the very first thing is brew install MongoDB. If you are not using brew, then I highly recommend to use brew in macOS only, but if you don't have, you can follow along with any other thing. I don't know, but this is a real easy thing. So just copy this command and make sure you have done all these things also. I have already done, so I don't want to repeat. So let's open my terminal, and here inside the terminal I will paste this command, brew install, and make sure you are installing the community version, not the enterprise version. Now it's really fast and done. Once you have installed it, you have to start the service if it is not really started. So you can say like, hey, I want to start this service, and what this will actually going to do, it's going to start the MongoDB service on the background. That means you don't have to do this MongoD actually running the Mongo process in the front, but if you want to use it as a service, it will run it as a macOS service and not the background service doing manually. Okay, so let's start it. And now it says that already started. It doesn't matter, we have already started. Okay, finally, once you have the Mongo running as a service or as a background process in your system, you can check if you have Mongosh or not. So very first thing you can do is Mongosh and get the help. If you just type this, and if you are not getting any error saying that MongoSH is not a valid command, then you are good to go. So this is very nice, and the first thing you need to do is MongoSH, no flag, nothing else, just Mongosh, and hit enter. It's going to create the server, and you can see it is connected to MongoDB server, which is running at localhost 2707, and with this MongoSH, yes, we are getting the shell, and you can see we are here having the test, and now you can type anything related to MongoDB. So Here we can just press EXIT and press and obviously give the parenthesis to get out of this Mongosh or MongoSH or Mongo shell. A lot of things, but I like to have Mongosh. It's like a styling thing, Mongosh. Okay, so this is how you can have the MongoDB in your system. If you have any issue, I highly recommend you to go to the documentation and see how they are teaching you. I don't recommend you to watch any other video. Why? Because I really want you to get familiar with the documentation and not trap on any other people's mind. So that's why I'm also not saying like follow my video or follow what I am saying. I'm just saying that follow the documentation, because this never going to change, and this is the real powerful thing to learn MongoDB. Once we have the Mongosh or MongoDB in our system, we need to once again go to the documentation. I highly recommend the documentation. Just close this installation section, and now we can go to the next part, which is Mongo shell or MongoSH. So we already have it. If you don't have, you need to have it. But let's go on the installation, and it's just giving you some process how to get it. And next is connect to deployment. So what it says that you can have this, and doing this MongoSH is actually equivalent to doing the same like MongoDB and localhost 27017. Let's try to run this thing also, which is my local MongoDB instance. Now I can go on the terminal and I can simply hit enter. So this is the Mongo shell, and the difference between Mongo shell and this is the Mongo instance, the MongoDB server, which is running at localhost 27017. But Mongo shell is just giving you the ability to interact with your database, with your MongoDB database. Okay, so you can see it's doing exactly the same stuff we were doing when we just say MongoSH and nothing else. Okay, so this is the similar thing. Let's get back. What next? It says that local you can connect to local Mongo instance on a non-default port. So what is the default port? Default port is 27017. This is the port, just like we can call it localhost 3000, localhost 8000. So 8000, 3000s are the port. So similar to that, this is the port number. And if you want to connect to any other port, you can either write full thing like this, or when you say MongoSH, you can define the port something like this. So let's try to run it and see whether this is working on my system or not. So I run it, hit enter, and now you can see it says some error. Why it's saying error? Because my MongoDB server is not running at 28017. My MongoDB server is running at 27017. So that's why it's refusing to connect, and it's simply saying that, hey, I can't find any MongoDB server on this port. So they have given this ability so that if somehow you have running your MongoDB server with different port, then you can connect with that. So let's first connect the MongoD, the Mongo server, with different port. So here I have brew service start. So I can simply say brew service stop, the community edition for the MongoDB, and now Mongo server is not running. So even if I say MongoSH, now once again it's saying that, hey, cannot connect to Mongo server, MongoDB server with localhost 27017 because it is now stopped. I want to start with different port. So remember, when I was doing the installation, let's once again go to the installation part. Here we are on the installation community macOS. You will see that we have here we are. We can run with the MongoD command, and we need to give this thing. I am on M1 chip, so I need to run this one, and I can do that by pressing something like this. So you can see it is really started, and now I can go and run the MongoSH with localhost 27017, but I need to start with some different port. So once again, I can exit from MongoSH. I can stop this as a service if this is not started, because we have started with the MongoD command. So how do we stop this? We need to go to the MongoSH. Here we need to say db.admin command, and here we can simply say shutdown is 1, that means true. And if I hit enter, and it says that now localhost 2707 is closed. So once I exit from here and then I say MongoSH, once again it says that can't find the server 27017. Okay, let's now start using this MongoD something command, and now I define port as 27020. This is the port number I used. Now it says it's started, and now if I say MongoSH, it's going to refuse, because by default it always say that I'm going to connect with the 27017. I can say port is 27020. If I run it, and now you can see it's running and connected with the MongoDB of localhost 27020. This is really great, and you need to understand how it's working, because this is the real power when you have the MongoDB with the different ports. Okay, so let's connect once again and do the shutdown, because I need to say admin command and shut down once again and hit enter. It's done, and exit from Mongosh. Now you will say that, Sarthak, how do you know that there is a command called db.admin command shutdown 1? Okay, I told you everything is inside MongoDB documentation. So wherever I find to start the MongoDB server, I also have the option to shut down, and you can see we are going to use the MongoSH. So let's click on this command, and not on this, actually on the shutdown command. Here we get, and this is the command, db.admin command shutdown to 1. And if you want, you can also provide other commands also. And this is how we learn things through the documentation. Very first, let's start the MongoDB as a brew service, so I don't have to start it manually again and again, and it's going to be on the default port of 27017. Amazing, that's really great. And let's start with the MongoDB. Once again, let's start with the documentation tab and go to the get started with MongoDB. And this time, once again, we will go into this MongoDB shell, and here you can see after installing and connecting to the deployment, we will go to run command, which is actually the place where it's going to show you how you can start interacting with your MongoDB database. So the first thing it says that switch databases, but first you need to see which database you are currently using. For that, you can use this command called db. Okay, so let's say I start the Mongo shell, which is the MongoDB, but I need to clear this thing. So I can say console.clear. And then you will say, how do you know, Sarthak, that this is console.clear will going to clear the console? Obviously, from this Mongo shell documentation. So if you can see on the right side, we have cleared the Mongosh console. So let's click here and we find this. You can also type CLS, or you can press Ctrl L or you can say console.clear. Three things to do only one task. So if I say db here, you can see I'm getting that my current DB or database which I'm using right now is test. And also if I just clear this by using Control L, you can see this prompt is showing me that the current database I'm using is this test. But what are other databases we have? Let's see on the documentation and see what it says next. It says if you want to switch to any other database, you can say use and then the database name. But the point is we don't know how many database we have or any other database name. For that, it says that to list the database available to the user, just say show DBs or DBS. Okay, let's see. This is we are going to run. We say show DBS or DBs. Just say semicolon, and yep, you can see I have many more databases. So if you are just installing this MongoDB first ever, then you will see like admin, config, local and test. These two databases I have created for myself. Anyways, so now I have more than one database. And as we know, if we want to change the database to any other database, you need to use this use and the database name. Okay, so let's see, we have the database like local next.js test node course. Let's go inside this node.js underscore course database. So I'm going to say use node no, and now I'm going to hit tab, which is going to auto complete my name for the database. Once we have this use and the database name, let's just hit enter. And now it says that switched to DB, the name of the DB, and the very important thing, you can see the prompt is saying the current database where I am. Now, once again, if I say DB, just DB to show the current database, here I am. Why this is useful? Because not every shell is going to give you this kind of prompt where it show the current database name. If you don't have it, then you can use the db command to show which is the current database you have. Okay, that's really good. And this time I'm going to use CLS to clear the console. And that's good. Now let's once again go on the documentation and see what next we can do. Now it says that if you want to create new database and the collection, you can just say use and your new database name and then insert some collection on it, and that's it. Isn't it really cool? Okay, so what if I say show DBs, and you can see, oh, I just realized that I don't need any semicolon. Okay, so you can see I don't have any database name called learn Mongo. So what if I say use learn underscore Mongo? Now, what do you think? What's going to happen? Since we don't have this database, so MongoDB will say that, hey, you're trying to switch to a database which is not available or something else. Let's try to hit enter. And the amazing thing of MongoDB, and this is why I love MongoDB, is even this database is not available, MongoDB says that, okay, you are trying to switch to a database which is not available, so I'm going to create it for you. And this is how you can see now we have switched to the database called learn underscore Mongo. Now I can once again say DB to show me the current database, but really amazing thing going to happen if I just say the next thing. But before that, I need to clear the console. So Control L, that's good. And now I say show DBs. See, amazing thing. And this is the real thing. We are switched to the learn underscore Mongo database. But if you show all the database, hey, that the new database is not available. Okay, so let me explain you. When we said that, hey, MongoDB switch to a new database, it is switched to the new database called learn underscore Mongo. But Since this is a new database, it's not actually stored. It's just created but not stored. Think about it like you have filled the form but you have not submitted the form. So that will be not available in your collection, in your database. And that's how it's happening. We are not having anything inside this. This is the fresh new database which is not just stored. And now how we can store this database so that when we do the show DBs, it will be available. For that, we need to have at least one, you can say one collection. So let me show you one thing. If I switch to another database by saying use, let's say test, and then once again say show DBs, you can see it's not available. That learn Mongo is not available. So I say use learn Mongo, switch to database. Now I need to see how many collections we have. But before that, I don't know how to do that, but before that, it says that you can add or insert something into a collection. Next question comes, hey, I have just switched to a database which is not even stored, and that database is empty. So how do I know that which collection I need to insert something? As I told you, MongoDB is amazingly flexible. Just like it has switched to a database which is not available. So if you try to go or try to insert something into a collection, let's say we call the collection name student. Now collection name is students plural. Now my collection is students and I'm trying to insert one entry, and I need to use these curly braces, and let's say name is Sarthak. And now the point here is MongoDB will say that, okay, when I say DB, that means obviously the current DB, which is learn Mongo. So MongoDB say that, okay, this is the database and this is the collection, but student collection is not available. So I first go and create a collection and insert something inside that. So this is how, if I hit enter, you can say it first said that acknowledged true, that means it is successful, and inserted with this object ID. Remember, when I was showing you the introduction for the MongoDB, I told you that the real amazing part of MongoDB is that you don't have to worry about the ID of the database you are using. The you can say the unique ID. This is how it is created. It's a hexadecimal, I believe. It's a hex code which is always going to be unique for each entry inside your collection. That's really good. Now, next real amazing thing. Since we have something inside of this learn Mongo database, which is a collection with one entry only, this database is actually stored. This means if I say show DBs, you can see now we have learn Mongo listed. That means it's really available on my MongoDB collection or MongoDB server, I can say, not collection. Okay, so this is how you create some database and then insert something inside the collection, and all we have learned from this documentation and nothing else. Okay, let's move to the next thing and see how we can move forward in the journey of MongoDB. So we know how to create the database. We know how to create the collection inside the database. But what if we want to see how many collections we have inside this learn Mongo database? Or maybe we want to remove a collection or remove a database. Let's see how we can do these things and where all these information is available in the documentation. Sometime I forgot like what I have to do. Okay, so let's once again go to the documentation, resources, documentation, go to the get started with MongoDB server, and at last you will see this references. So click here. Inside this references we have a legacy Mongo shell. Now go at the last and we see Mongo shell quick reference. Once you go here, you will find amazing commands, which is very helpful. You see, command helpers are the real power on the MongoDB shell. So we have seen show DBs, which will going to print all the database on the server, the MongoDB server. But we have one more, which is show collections, which is going to print all the collection of your current database. Absolutely important. So see how this is going to work. We are on learn Mongo database right now. What we have to do, we just need to say show collections, and remember only one collection we have created called student, and this is the student collection inside of the learn Mongo database. But what if I switch to any other database, which is like a test database, and if I do the same thing like show collections, now this show collection command will going to show the collections inside of the test database. And right now you can see a lot of test database or a lot of collections inside the test database we have. Once again, let's use learn Mongo, switch to this show collections. We have this, but let's see what else we have here on the command helpers. Okay, I think there is some more information about show collection. Let's open this. Okay, so show collection shell, and where it is inside the release note. Anyways, let's get back to our documentation for the quick shell quick reference. The next one is for show users, show roles, show profile, show databases. We have already seen. So what is the difference between this and show DBs? So let's say show databases. It's exactly same alternative to show DBs. What about show users? Show users, if I say we don't have many users. And what about show profile? Show profile. So now we have profile information. Profile is empty, and we can set the profile level, do some profile related things here also. Okay, so since we know that how we can show different collections inside of the database, now we need to know how we can drop a database or drop a collection maybe. So you can see if we want to drop a database, it says that there is a command called db.dropDatabase, and if we want to drop a collection directly, we can see we have db.collection name. So collection word here actually mean the real collection name dot drop. Let's try these things. So if I go here, we can see show collections is having this students collection. I want to remove or drop this collection called students collection. I can say db dot students, and when I just typed st and press tab, it has auto completed this, and then I say dot. Now I need to drop. So if I say dr and press tab, it has auto completed once again. And since this is going to be a function, I believe, so let's use the parenthesis and hit enter. We have returned as true. This really means that this database collection called student collection is not available. Now if I once again say show me the collections inside this learn Mongo database, you can see we are getting empty. That means we don't have any collection inside of this learn Mongo database. Now similar to this, what if we want to drop or remove this learn Mongo database itself? We just need to say db dot drop, and it's going to be a function once again. So I will use the parenthesis, hit enter, and now it says db dot drop is not a function, so actually it's a drop. And after that I press tab, once again tab, we get a lot of information. So drop user, drop role, but there is a drop database. So I say drop d and just hit tab, it has auto completed. Once again, it's a function, so use the parenthesis and hit enter. Now it's returned that OK is 1, that means everything is fine, 1 means true, and it dropped which database it has dropped, learn_mongo. Let's clear the console, and then once again we will see that still we have, yes, removed the database, but still we are inside this learn mongo database. So if I say show dbs, you can see that is not available on the server, but it's exactly the same effect when we are having a database but it's not available inside the server. Or I can say we have switched to a database but not to having a database inside the server. So we can switch to test, oops, not here, use test, and now show dbs, boom. So we have dropped the database, we know how to drop the collection and everything we learned from the documentation. Okay, once again, let's start with the documentation of getting started with server, and let's see what next we can learn in MongoDB. Now we are going to understand about the CRUD operation in MongoDB. So there are CRUD means create, read, update and delete. So that's we call a CRUD, which is doing everything we can do with the data. Now there are these commands for our collection. So if you want to create one entry inside of your collection, then you can use insert one command. If you want to insert more than one command at a time, then you can use insert many command. And don't worry, we will going to see each and every command in detail, or each and every method in detail. It's not command, it's a method. Then once you have it, obviously you want to read the data, and reading data comes with the find method. When you have the find method, inside the parentheses you can define the criteria or the actual query what data you need. Then you have the update. Now for update, just like insert, we have update one, update many, but we also have one called replace one. Okay, we will see that how replace one is different from other methods. And we also have the delete operation, just like insert and update, delete one and delete many. Okay, so let's start with the insert command first. How? Now what we are going to insert. So since I highly recommend you to go on the documentation, and I am following the documentation along with you, this means I'm not going to take any random data. I'm going to take the data which is given here inside of the documentation, so that you will also get the same data and learn along with me with the exact data which we are using, which I am using in this course. Okay, so you see we have some DB. Inside DB we will create the inventory collection. Then we will do insert one only. Okay, so this is all the data we have. So I'm going to copy this. I'm not copying full command, just I really want to write it down. Okay, so you can see there is one more amazing thing inside the documentation. Not only just for the Mongo shell, which is MongoSH, you can also see how the query will be for different languages. Suppose I am using Node.js, so in a Node.js you will do something like this. If you are in PHP, you will do something like this, and for Python it will look like here. So you have the flexibility where you are working. So since we are just learning, it will be good for the shell. Now let's go to the terminal, and here you can see I have this test database which is in the prompt, or I can simply say DB, which is giving me the database. To clear, I can say CLS, this time, and I can say show DBs. Now there is no learn Mongo because remember we have dropped the database. Let's create the database, and we know to create we just need to say use learn Mongo. This is the database we are creating, and we switched, and already we know that this is actually not created, it's just in the intermediate process. Once we start writing the collection, then it will be done. So what is the collection name we will use? We will use inventory, and then inside this I'm going to say insert. So I'm just pressed IN and going to hit tab, and you can see it's giving me a lot of option for related to IN. So there is two which we know right now is insert one and insert many. We need the insert one, so I say insert O and then hit tab. With capital O I need to hit tab, and it has auto completed. Then inside this parenthesis I need to paste or write actually our data, but I have copied it from the documentation, so I can just paste it. And once you have all the data inside your terminal or command prompt, then you can just hit enter, and boom, that is actually created, once again acknowledged, and got the ID. Okay, so this is how we insert one data, but let's see what it says. Obviously, if you have inserted the data, you need to find it. So there is a method called find inside of the collection you have created. So yes, they are using some kind of thing here like an object, but we will see how this find is going to work. So I will say here, let me zoom this for you, db dot inventory. Now since inventory is really available, what if I say tab? And yeah, you can see Mongo know, or Mongo shell know that hey, there is a collection called inventory. So when I say IN and press the tab, it has auto completed my collection name called inventory. That's really amazing. Then I say find, so FI and tab, which is really great. And then I'm going to not provide anything inside the parentheses. And this is really a valid syntax, because when I say find and I'm not providing any criteria, that means I want to say that hey, find me everything you have on this collection. So that's we have here. Now in the documentation they are finding with the item name called canvas. What if we find just like that? I'm going to clear the console by typing console.clear, and we know it's a function and it's cleared. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply say db.inventory, press tab, .find, once again press tab, and then I provide an object inside of the parentheses where I say that hey, item field has to have the value of canvas. You can use single quote, you can use double quote, it doesn't matter. Now if I hit enter, you can see it has given me this thing, and we only have one data, so that's why it's giving me like this. But what if I say instead of canvas, I say item is book? If I hit enter, you can see we are not getting anything because there is no item called book, or I can say no collection document. The collection is this document which we have created, so there is no collection document where the item name is book, so that's why it's giving me nothing. Okay, let's now go once again to the documentation and see what it says next. It says like if you really want to add more data, bulk data at once, you don't want to repeat like insert one many times, then instead of doing insert one 3 times, if you want to insert 3 data, you can simply say insert many, and this is more efficient because we are not iterating 3 times, we are taking the data and bulk store is there. Okay, So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to once again copy the data only, not every other thing, and then go back to the terminal, and here I will say db dot inventory with the tab dot insert many. So when I say M and press tab, it has auto completed. Inside this I'm going to paste this data. Now you see there is something happening. It says argument doc must be an array of the document. Okay, so since we want to insert more than one data, the data should be in the form of an array, not the object, because array is a collection of different item of similar kind. But here it's an object. We are providing directly 3 object. We need to provide it as a array. Okay, so once again I cleared this and I say db dot inventory dot insert many, like here, and then I will use this square brackets to define that I'm going to write some arrays, and then I paste my data. Once again you can see we have acknowledged with inserted item, and then still we are remained with these 2 data. So something bad happening when we just do the paste. What happened here? Let's just do the collection. Collection name is inventory dot find, and remember, when I'm not giving anything inside this find, that means we want all the data. So all the document we will get, and you can see we are getting 2 document. Seems like something bad happened. What happened here? We are just copying these data, and when we try to paste inside this editor, it's not getting it properly. So there is another way of doing it. So once I say editor, hit enter, you can see we have given dot and then editor. Actually this thing which I am doing here is kind of shell, or I can say Mongo shell method or Mongo shell feature. So Mongo shell, the Mongo sh we are using, is telling us that hey, if you have the data, you want the multi-line data, then you can use the inline editor. Once again you will say that how do you know this thing, Sarthak? And my answer always is that here is the documentation and here is the Mongo shell, and now you can do the configuration, and here configure, I need to find it where I was using that. Run aggregate pipeline, no, not that. Write a script. Okay, if I'm not getting it, I always try to do the search. So if I do the search here for the dot editor, and we are getting use an editor for commands. Now this is inside once again Mongo shell configuration, and so it says that you need to say dot editor command to start the built-in editor, and if you have configured for any external editor, you can just say edit, but we are not using external, we are using inbuilt editor. Okay, so here once again I say db dot inventory dot insert many, and now I will use the bracket, the square bracket, to define it as an array. Then I press Ctrl V, or if you are on Mac then Command V. I pressed Command V. Okay, now you can see it is an editor, so it has properly placed all the data inside of my array. So this is good. And now what I will do, you can see still we are getting some issue. The issue is how I can move. I have to move like this, so that's not good. So you can see I stuck here, I cannot move above. So I just press Ctrl C to cancel. Once again start the editor like here, and once again I say db dot inventory dot insert many, then I start the bracket, I paste my data, and at last I close the bracket and these two bracket also. Then once I finish with the thing, whatever I want to write, I just press control D. So control and D, and you can see now 3 item single shot is inserted in my collection of inventory. So 3 for now, 2 previously, it has to be total 5. So now let's see, db.inventory.find, and using this find I will just say hit enter, and now 1 2 3 4 4 1 2 3 and 4 and 5, yeah, this one. So fifth is here. So if I zoom it out, you can see 1 2 3 4 and 5 data is inserted inside of my collection for inventory. Okay, so you can also do one thing, like if you want to retrieve all the data, and you can just provide this empty object which is equivalent to doing the same thing. So if I do this, you can see we are still getting all the data we have inside it, and that's really the powerful thing. And now whatever we have created has some unique ID field. Now this is absolutely important to understand in MongoDB. So now I'm going to get the first one where the item is canvas. Okay, now here if you see, we have given these 4 things only. So once again, go to the documentation at the top. You can see we are not providing any ID field here. Now since we are not providing any ID field, this means Mongo says that, hey, you have not given any ID. That means I am going to create one ID for you, which is using this object ID method, and this is the thing. So here if you go at the bottom, it says that it is generate an object ID for the ID field. This is the powerful thing for MongoDB. Okay, so what if we provide the ID? So once again I want to say db.inventory.insert1, and now inside of this insert one, since this is a schema less, I don't need to be exactly consistent with the data I'm providing. So in the inventory we have the data like item, quantity, tags. What if I just provide item, quantity, and maybe the price? So let's see. So I am going to provide item as book, then quantity, so QTY is going to be, let's say, 40, and then I am going to provide the price. Price is once again 40. Okay, but with this data I also want to provide one more field called _ID, and this is going to be some random number. So random number is like this. Okay, so now what do you think, what's going to happen? Let's hit enter here, and boom, you can see now this is acknowledged true. That means it is really created. Inserted ID is this one, not the one created by MongoDB. Okay, so let's just quickly find it, and then we will close this one, and then we say okay, db.inventory.find me the item where item name is book. Okay, like this. And this time you can see the ID is not the object ID. ID is the one which we have given when we were inserting this data into the collection. Cool. One last thing is here. What if we want to just count the data? So db.inventory. Is there any length? So I just say len and just try to hit tab. I'm not getting any suggestion. That means length is not there. What about count? So if I say count and then press tab, and we have one called count documents, and then we just press parenthesis and then hit enter, and yes, you can see C6 is here. Okay, so this is the way we can do these things, and we learn about the counting also. So this is how you learn about the insert one, insert many, and what and how we can do with the editors. Whenever we store any data inside of the database, the majority of the time we do the read part or querying the database. So in MongoDB, the powerful thing is querying. Let's understand this. Since we have already created the inventory collection in our database, I am going to actually drop this collection so that we can once again create the collection with this data which is provided in the documentation, so that I can follow along with the documentation only. Okay, so let's go to the terminal. Here in the terminal, I say db.inventory.drop, and I forgot what was the command or what was the method. I just press tab and boom, I get a lot of things. So I just have a drop. So if I say drop and parenthesis, hit enter, it says true. That means now I don't have any collection. I can say show collections, hit enter, and you can see we don't have anything. Okay, let's start from scratch. So that means we need to insert all these data so that we will learn how to do the query thing. I will copy each and everything and then paste it. When we are pasted, and now what I will do, I will just hit enter to have all these data in one shot. Remember, I'm not using the editor since I have copied each and everything with the db command. I didn't have any issue. Okay, this means now db.inventory.count document with like this, it has 5 data in 5 document inside the collection. Now what next? Remember, we already know that if we want to get everything, then we can use find method with or without empty object. Now this is exactly similar to the SQL query of select everything from inventory. If you are familiar with this select everything from inventory, think about this as the exact query doing in the MongoDB in the NoSQL database. Okay, but we also have a powerful thing where we can define the where condition. Once again, think about this query as select everything from inventory where status is D. Let's try to run this in our terminal. Here we are, and then I say db.inventory.find. Inside this find, I will say that hey, status is going to be capital D. Now if I hit enter, you can see I'm getting 2 document which is having the status of D. Now what next? So we are getting this with the status of D. Let's now see all the data or all the document we have. So I will say find, oops, like here. Now we can see we have different status like A, then D, then we have once again A, and yeah. Now what if I want to find the data with the status of A and D? So how can I write here? Like I need 2 things. So db.inventory.find with status of I want D as well as A. How can I do that? For that, we need to go on the documentation once again. Inside the documentation, it says if you want to have multiple condition for same field, then you have to use an object. Inside of the object, you provide an array for $in. Now, whenever you see any dollar related text, something inside the query of MongoDB, think about $in as a special character for MongoDB, and it has some meaning. So when I do this, then Mongo will going to find the status, where the status will going to be A or D, or I can say where status is in this array. Okay, let's do this. So here we have this, and now I will simply say object, then I say inside of an array include D and A, then I close this document, and now closing every other thing. Okay, so that's good. Now hit enter, and yes, you can see we are getting the document with the status of A as well as the status of D. So this is powerful thing in MongoDB. So let's see, here it's given, like if you really want to match this with a SQL query, it will be like select everything from inventory, where status in A and D seems like exactly same thing. Great. You can also do the OR. So querying using OR operator, use in operator rather than OR operator when performing quality check on the same field. So if you want to learn more about this in operator, so $in operator, you can open it in a new tab, and if you can find, it's inside the reference operator, query and projection, comparison operator, and not just in, we have a lot more, and we will learn about that later. Okay, so that's really good. Now what if you want to find with two fields, like one is the status and other is the quantity? Okay, so we will see how many things we have. Now we can say that, hey, give me the document where status is A and quantity is let's say 50 and more than 50. So that will be like, or less than 50. So that will be like this one, or if you say more than 50 and 50, then this one. So let's see how we will do that. We will say db.inventory.find, and here I will say one is status is going to be A. Also we need the quantity is 25. Let's say just hard coding the things. Hit enter, and boom, yes, we are getting. But we want to say that, hey, it should be, quantity should be less than 25. How do we do that? For that we have a special once again operator called LT, which represent less than, LT. Okay, so LT is there. So just like we did for in, we just need to say $LT and then less than 25 and close it like now, like this, and that's done. So if I do this, it says, hey, there is nothing below 25. What if I say below 50? So we have two, one is 45, one is 25. Now what if I try to find with 50 only? So yes, we have the 50. So we need to find it like less than and equal to 50. So we need to do less than and equal to. How do we do that? So for that, we need to go once again here on the documentation, and remember I told you that there are a lot of special operators with a $sign. So let's just open this in a new tab, and here one more time on the reference operator, query projection operator, comparison operator, we have less than, but we also have less than E equal to. So this says that it is actually going to do less than and equal to operator. Okay, so that sounds so easy. So here we just need to say less than and equal to 50 and then hit enter. And this time we are not just getting 2, we are getting 3, which is like for 25, 50 and 45. This means it's also including the 50th one. So just like we have less than, we also have the greater than. So greater than and greater than equal to. We have seen the in operator also, and you can also find the equal to operator. So suppose you want to say like equal to something something, then also you can do. And not equal to is also there, and nin means not in. Yeah, I think it's not in the database. So remember we said that not in, we said in of A and B. So let's find that query. Yeah, so this is the status in D and A. If I say nin, then not in, that will give nothing because we just have 2 of the status. But if I say not in of D, so just exclude the D status, then we are getting the status just for we are getting the document for status A only. Okay, let's move. So let's close this tab and get back to here. And just like that, we can also do the or thing, like it could be status or quantity. So you can like now things getting really interesting because you can add more data here or more query. So you can define and or and or, a lot of things you can do. So this is the real power of understanding anything with the documentation, because I always say that documentation is the king. Let's now understand more about the query, some advanced steps. So that's why we have some other documentation. Query on embedded or nested document. So remember we have this kind of structure in our collection, the document we have. So let's just do this. Go here and say db.inventory.find, and we have like this. And see, the size here is actually the embedded or nested document. So size is a document, or think about it as an object inside of an object. Okay, that's good. But how we can say that, hey, I want the document where size UOM should be IN, because somewhere we have cm like centimeter and inch. So how we can do that? Let's go to the documentation, and here it says that yes, you can define that find me where the size, height, width and UOM, everything should match exactly what I have written. So let's do that, and I can simply say, hey, give me the db.inventory where finding on the size, but inside the size, go inside of the size, and UOM has to be the in, like inch. Now if I hit enter here, I'm not getting anything. We have some issue here. UOM, we are giving this size, UOM is inch, so it should be UOM, not OUM. Okay, even with that we are not getting anything here. So why is that? So because you can see we are not defining other fields. So we are actually saying that their size should be this object only. But along with this we have some more data also. So if I do this, we have height, we have width, we not just have the UM. So what if I say height is 8.5 and width is 11, then find me with this. So I can say height is 8.5 and width is 11. Now give me the document, and it's not giving. So why is this? So maybe can we do something like the sequence matter? Height is 8.5, width is 11, and UOM. Oh my god. I don't like this. But this is how Mongo work. It need the exact sequence. That's bad, Mongo. So what we can do? And the first thing is I don't want to write all other things here. Suppose I have 10 more things inside of the size object. I don't want to type exactly the other things same and just want the variation on this. Or basically what I really want, I want these two documents where the size UOM is in. I don't care about the height and width, whatever it is. But Mongo is not that bad. It says that, okay, so you want size dot UOM. What? What I'm doing? Yes, you can see I'm pressing or I'm giving the embedded field using this dot sign. So when I say this, I need to give it inside of the double quote or single quote. Then I say, hey, this should be in, and now you can see we are getting two objects because I said that, hey, I only care about UOM field inside of the size field. So it doesn't matter whatever the height, whatever the width is, I just need the document where UOM is IN. Okay, let's try this with other things. So you can see here, if I say centimeter, centimeter has different width and height, yeah, like that. So what if we give it like I need for the centimeter, and you can see we are getting with the centimeter of different field. I don't care whatever it is, I need the document with the size UOM as centimeter. Wow, this is really amazing, and it's given here if you can see. Not just that, remember when I say that, hey, I need the size or UOM is centimeter, but I want to say that, hey, that is okay, but I need the height should be less than 20. So we should not see this document because height is 22.5, here height is 10 and 14. Okay, let's see how we can do that. So one is that has to be centimeter, but second field I will say that, hey, I need the size dot height is less than, so I need to use the parenthesis curly braces, and here I say dollar less than, so less LT, and here I provide less than 20. Let's see, is this going to work or not? And boom, it's yes working. It says that yes, there are two document where UOM is centimeter and height is less than 20. That's really amazing. So you can combine these things, and which is once again given here inside of the documentation. So yes, we did that. We did with height and UOM. You can also chain not just the embedded data but the real document data also, or fields also. Okay, so this is about the embedded, but we have more on the advanced querying. You can also query inside of the tags. So we have some other data. Let's add it on our inventory. So paste it, run it, and all is there. Now what it says, now if you want to have something and you want to say that, hey, this there should be tags, but tag should have this kind of array data, red and black. Okay, so here we can see we have the tag where the array is red and black, so it should only give red and blank. So I thought it's a black. It's a blank. What's that? Anyways, let's do this query. So I will say here db.inventory.find where tags is inside of an array, and first element is red, other element is blank, not black. If I hit enter, now I get one data. Remember, we just have the one data where the sequence is red blank. It can also give blank red because that's the same thing actually. I need these two elements should be inside of the tag. But anyways, this is giving me only one field. That's not good. But here you can see it says that if you want to see all these things, then you just need to use the all operator. How this is going to work? Let's see. I say tag, then curly bracket, all, the array, close the curly bracket and hit enter. And now it says that I don't care whatever is the sequence. I don't care if there is more element or not. I need the document where tag include these two items inside that array. So blank red is there, red blank is there, red blank plain is there, blank red is there. Isn't it really cool? Yes. Now what I really want, I want all the tag where the value of the tag array should be red blank or blank red. I don't care. It could be anyone. So how we can do that? If I go back to the documentation and at the last, you can see we can also provide one special operator with a size operator is there. And then what if I say that the array size will be $size will be 2 only. So give me all the tags with red and black inside that, but the size should be 2 only. So if I hit enter, you can see we are getting blank red, red blank, blank red. That's amazing. So we have achieved this by using the combination of two spatial operator like all operator and the size operator. Okay, so this is good for that. You can also do some like embedded thing with other operators also. So just like this one, I can copy that and paste it. Here we can see we are digging into the dim centimeter dot one, and that should be greater than 25. Okay, if I hit enter, you can see we are getting dim or dimension centimeter, and the first element should be greater than 25. The first dot one is the first element because it's an array. That's what I'm saying. Now, can we apply this thing on the tag? Like I don't want to say that first element should be blank. Okay, so find me the tags where I want to say that tag dot one, the first tag. So that means I need this inside the quotes. The first tag should be blank, the blank word, not the blank exact. Okay, this is good. And if I hit enter, you can see we are getting, but we are not getting. Oh, so once again we can see this is the index. So not the first element, the first index. So index 0 is red, index 1 is blank, index 0 is red, index 1 is blank. Similarly, if I say index 0 should be blank, index 0 should be blank. Okay, and remember that dim centimeter. So when I said the first element, it's not the first element, it's the first index. So first index is 30, which is greater than 25. So I think when I was saying that previously, you figured out, hey, the first element is 22, which is less than 25. What you're saying, Sarthak? So sometime when you create the video, you forgot what you want, but that's not going to happen next time, I'm sure. Okay, so I think you get the point. Let's go back and see more amazing thing. So just like we do for the array inside, just like we do for the array and we do inside for the embedded document, we do the combination of array inside of the embedded document. So you can see we have the in stock. Inside that we have a lot of other documents, and on that we can do the query. So I think you got the point, and you can easily understand these things. I want to show you the projection. This is absolutely important to understand. Really important. Now, what's going to happen when I say give me the tags where the first element is blank? Yes, it is giving me, but you can see it's giving me all of the fields. Whether I want or not, it's giving me everything. That's not good. So what I want, I don't want to expose this ID field. I don't want to give the quantity field. What if I just want these three, like item, tags, and dimension in centimeter? That's it. Okay, so for that, let's go on the documentation. It says that if you want to do that, then you need to do the select ID, item, and status, something like that. Then as a second parameter in the find method, we can do that. So we are interested in item, tags, and dimension in centimeter. So I say comma provide underscore ID. Then obviously that should be in the quotes. It should be in the quotes or not. Anyways, so yeah, so we need to say this is going to be 1. So when I say ID has to be 1 means yes, include it. So I don't want to include it, so I just need to say I really forgot what I have to do. So item, tags, and dims. Okay, so here comes like item, and if you don't want to give the quotes, that's also fine. Item is 1, tags is 1, and dimension in centimeter is also 1. When I say 1, that means I am saying that yes, include these items. Hit enter, and now you can see along with the ID, we are getting these fields. So it seems like Mongo always provide you the ID if you say or not, but I don't want the ID. So how I can do that? I just need to say, hey, underscore ID should be 0, not 1, 0. That means I don't want the ID field on my result. So yep, you can see tag, tag, item, and dimension in centimeter. So this is how you can make sure either you are including something or excluding something. Now, this is good, but I just want to say that, hey, I don't want the ID, but I want everything else except the ID, I can say. So yep, you can do that. Or you can say I only want the tags because I am searching for the tags. So I just say tags 1. Boom. Or we have also seen the combination of 2. So this is very important in the projection thing. So you can exclude something by saying 0. You can include something by saying 1 here inside the second parameter object. You can also combine things like searching and showing things like here, which I have done, but you can also do that for the embedded data also. Now, if I say like give me everything, here you can see we are getting that, hey, I need the, let me do in a different way. So I have more data here. So you can see the data we have is, yep, in the size field, we have height, width, and UOM. I just want to give height and width, not UOM. So there are 2 ways to do that. Give me all the things, but as a second parameter, I want to say that size dot height. So it should be, when you go in deeper in the document, then you need to use the quotes, single quote or double quote. This should be included, or size dot width should be included. Now, when I say this, because I have said that I only need the height and the width for the size. So you can see along with the ID, I am just getting only size field with the embedded field which we have defined. But this is not good. I want everything except the UOM. Okay. In that case, what we have to do, we just need to say size.uom should not be available. That's it. And now you can see when I go on this, size only have height and width. Wow, so amazing Mongo is that, like, I'm really impressed with the structure and the query for all the things we are doing with the MongoDB. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Finally, there is a cursor thing. It's a really advanced feature, but I just want to give you the introduction. Like, suppose you have 1,000 data, 1,000 document in your collection, but you want to read it in a chunk of 10 or maybe 100, then you can do that with the cursor thing, and that's easy stuff. So these are the advanced features. So I'm not digging right now because that will be too much for you. If you really want, I told you how to read the documentation. Let's now move to the update document. Once you understand the basic concept of MongoDB and get familiar with the query, how you write things, everything seems so easy. Once again, I am on the documentation for update documentation, and I'm going to follow this documentation, and for that we need this data. That means I will go here and drop all of the data we have. So db.inventory I'm going to drop this collection, and then I will go here, click and paste it, run it. Everything is there. So easy and fast. Okay, now let's see what we are going to do. The update works something like this. You do the update operator and then you do the field. Now what is update operators? So this is the update operator, which is called set. So once again, you can open this in new tab and you will find that there is an update operator. A lot of update operator are there. Like, we can set, we can rename something, we can do the max, min, increment, unset, something like that. Okay, so let's get back to the documentation. And the first thing we are going to do is update one. Just like we have an insert one, we have update one. Okay, so it's updating the item with a title of paper, updating a document with the title, with a field name item. The value is paper, and it says that set, it's setting size.uom. And see, this is really amazing thing. We are setting size.uom field, and the value is centimeter. This is the embedded document, and we are setting the embedded document value. We are setting the status, and then we are also doing the current date is last modified true. That means when we do this, it's going to change the last modified date. Okay, so it says everything here, and now let's do the same thing. So I'm going to do all these things by hand because this is how I want to learn. So db.inventory.update. Once again, I'm going to press tab to see how I'm getting it. Update 1 is there. And now inside this, the first thing is how we will find the document which I need to update. Remember, it was like item, and the item value is paper. Inside this, now this is the first object is to find the document which we want to update. Now we will give the comma, and here on the second one, see, on the second one we need to give the set, what we want to do the set, or what we actually want the update. So with the $set operator, I say that, hey, I'm going to set an object where first one is size.uom, and its value is going to be centimeter, and then another thing is status. So I'm going to set the status as p, and this should be a string. Now I'm not doing that current thing, current date. Just hit enter and it says that acknowledged, inserted ID, because this is just an update, so there will be no change in the ID. Matched count, that means how many from this first one, how many document is matched, and out of that how many I have updated. So that's done. Let's do the db.inventory.find, and we should find with the status of P, because we set the status as P. Okay, so we have the status at P, but we have the item of paper, and we said that UOM is going to be centimeter. Wow, that's really good. So let's now update once again, and this time I will call the status as S. That's good. And now this time I'm going to find the inventory with the status S, and it's here, exactly same. But what about this current date last modified true? Okay, let's try to do this thing and see what's going to happen. When we do the update, along with the set, I'm also going to say $current, and current, it's going on the new line. Yeah, current date is an object with the last modified true, last modified as true. Now let's see what's going to happen. Once again, everything is same, but now if I find it, it also included another field called last modified with the ISO date and time exact given here. This is so important when we do something in the production, that yes, it always has to be in the update part, and there also has to be the published field or created at field, something like that. But we are getting the update time and date when we do the current date last modified true. Now there should be more thing on the current date. If you want to know more about the current date, just open this operator documentation. That operator once again is inside the update operators, and then you can find. So I said that it is saying that current date, field, and type. So there should be type of timestamp, type of date you can find, so that you can do many times. So current date, having an example of last modified, something like this. But when you update, you can say current date last modified to true, cancellation date, type is timestamp. You can also provide the type for this thing. Okay, so this is good for the update on the last modified. Okay, next is update many. As you guessed it right, we can find something, and then if we have more than one data, then we can set these fields for every data we have. Now I'm thinking, like, what if I do this on update 1? What's going to happen? So first, let's find the data with the field. So we need to find with the status of P. Now I can see I have two data. One is a mousepad and another is a notepad. Okay, so I want to do the update on both of these, but I'm using the update 1. So let's see what's going to happen. But what I have to set, let's say setting the quantity. Okay, so instead of find, I just say update 1, and I will say give me the document with the status of P. Then I need to set the quantity. So I say QTY is equal to 33. Now what you think, is this going to give error? Is this going to update all of the data? Because this time it's going to match two document with the status of P, or it will not do anything. Let's see what's going to happen. If I run it, then it says that, hey, matched 1, modified 1 only. So if I find with the status, you can see it has only updated 1 data, although it has found more than 1. But when I said that, hey, update 1, that means only going to update first, even if you find more than 1 data for the query you are doing on the update part like this. So for this kind of situation, we have update many. When you do this thing and run it, you can see it has matched to modified 1, because 1 was previously already had that 33. So that's why it's 1. And if I check, you can see both has 33. Now if I do it like a 54 and then run, and this time it says that, okay, matched to, yes, but modified both of them, because both doesn't have the quantity of 54. It was different, so I'm going to set for the 54. So this is why we need the we need the update many. But now I will go and find for, let's find for status of S. And now here we have a lot of other things, and I'm going to do amazing thing. So I'm going to first say, not update, I will say replace 1, where status is S, and I'm going to set only one thing, which is really amazing. Name is Sarthak. And you will say, hey Sarthak, what you are doing? Name field was not there. Let's see now what's going to happen. It says that modified 1. So if I find the status, you can see status S is not having anything. Why? Because we said that replace, find the document where the status is 1, and whatever field, whatever document data we have, replace everything with the name Sarthak, or I can say this whole document. So even status field is not there. That means if we really want to see what was that document, so we need to actually do this. Name is Sarthak, and you can see we are getting it. That's right. And this is the replace. Replace, as the name suggests, it's going to replace everything. Now, one thing more similar to that. What if now I don't have any data with the status of S? So I'm going to update it. Update 1, where status is S, and then I will say item is let's say mobile stand. Okay, so I will give underscore, and quantity QTY is 33, and that's it. These two things I just want to update. And since we have removed these, so we know that there is no document with the status of S. Let's see what's going to happen. If I hit enter, it says that update document require atomic operators. Something is there, and I don't know what that. Yes, I know what is that thing. We need to say that, hey, this is set, which is the atomic operator, setting the field like here. Okay. Now what's going to happen? Let's see. If I hit enter, it says that acknowledge true, everything is fine, but I didn't find any match, so I will not able to update it. So I thought there will be good idea, if you are not getting anything, then create new document inside the collection. How we can do that? With this kind of a structure, as a third parameter, I provide one special thing which is called upsert, and upsert is going to be true. So I said it, upsert true. Now what's going to happen? If I hit enter, you can see it says that upserted count 1. What that mean? It mean that, hey, I didn't find this kind of query for any document. There is no document with the status of S. Since there is no document, but you said that upsert is true, That means if you are updating and not find the data, then insert it. So it has inserted. That means if I do the find with the status of S, yes, we are getting it, and here we are. And remember, since we have inserted the new data into the collection, you can see inserted ID is this one, which is exactly matched. Okay, so this is the power of update one or update many. You can do with this update many also, and everything is inside the documentation. Now you will see that how I will know more of these things. So where it's written, it's not written upsert, it's not written on this documentation like where we are reading it, like on the update document. So where it is, so for that you need to go on the references. You can go on the operators, update operators, and then you can find the update operators details easily. Or you can go here inside this update one, db.collection update one, which is once again on the Mongo shell methods, and everything is there, and it's given here. Upsert as a boolean, write content collation, array filter, hint, a lot of things are there you can read, but once again this is out of the scope thing. Okay, so once again we get how to update things. Now it's time for the delete part. Now this time we are going to delete the collection documents. Remember, every time we want the fresh data in our collection, what we were doing, if we have the collection, you can see we have a lot of collection documents here, and we can also say count me the documents, which is having 11. So every time we want the fresh data, we were actually dropping out the collection. It was not good since we want to recreate the collection, the same collection. Now instead of removing or dropping the collection itself, we can say, hey, I want to delete. So I have not touched the documentation, but what if I just say delete and press tab 2 times? Okay, now it says delete one and delete many. So we can benefit from delete many. And remember, when we do anything, we need to give what exactly on which document we want to do the operation. So when I'm giving nothing, what that mean? That means delete everything. There is no condition. Whatever you see, just delete it. So we will do that. If I just hit enter, now it says that 11 document is deleted. So this means if I say db.inventory.count documents, it says 0. Isn't it the better way against just dropping out the full collection? Yes, and this is the starting point of delete document. So once again we have these data. So let's have all these data in my collection. So we already have the collection, but if I try to insert, let's see what's going to happen. Yes, it is inserted. And now what if I see how to delete? So we have seen that if I'm giving delete many, I'm not giving any condition, it's going to delete each and everything. But you can provide, like, I want to delete many, but those whose status is 1. So right now, if I see here, if I say db.inventory.find, and you can see I have a lot of data, but the data have status 1 also, status D, P, and A. So I want to delete the document with the status D only. So let's use once again delete many, but this time I'm going to provide status is going to be D. And now if I hit enter here, you can see it says deleted count to acknowledge true. That means now if I find, you can see we don't have any data with the status of D. So we can provide anything. Like next is very simple. You can go even on the embedded document and find the collection through that, then delete it using the one. So I will say like find where the size dot w, the width is 15.25. So I need the delete one. So instead of find, I will say, hey, give me dot delete one. And now I will first say find with size dot width is 15.25. Is it 25 or 21? Let's see. So if I do this, it says deleted, and this is the real power. We can go inside of the document and do the delete. This means now we just have left with 2 document in our collection, in our database collection. Okay, so that's really powerful thing. And is there any other amazing part? No. So that's it. We have some delete methods, delete many, delete one, and it's also having remove. Delete a single document or all document with the matched filter. This is seems like the old way. So let's do the thing once again. Remove. But now if I press tab, you can see I'm not getting any, like remove is not there inside this Mongo shell. So what do you mean by this? I have here, and if I go inside this remove, actually this one is changed to something else. So now this remove method is deprecated, which is now replaced with the delete. So even if we type like remove with the status of, let's say, S, and hit enter, here you can see it says that deprecated warning. Collection remove is deprecated. Deprecated means this function will be removed or will be not available in the future version. So that's why it suggests that you can use delete one, delete many, find one, and delete. This is the one we found new. So let's say find one and delete. So it's equivalent to delete one. So find one and delete. So it says that find one. If you find it, then delete it, otherwise no. If I say p, so it says that find one and delete. So it has first finded it but then deleted. So yes, we are getting the data which we are going to delete. We get the data and then it has removed. So this means if I now see, you just have only one thing. So find means first get me that or give me that actually, and then delete that. Okay, so with the delete we have these kind of things, and I think we are done with the CRUD operation. CRUD means insert, that means read, create, update, or delete. CRUD start with the C. So create, read, update, and delete. Amazing. Let's move to the next thing. We need to think about optimizing our query. But why it is really important? I will explain to you, but first you can see I have a zips.json file where we have city related information, which is a 3.2 MB of data. And I'm going to import the whole data in our MongoDB learn Mongo collection. For that, we can use Mongo import command, and then we need to define some of the things like which database we need to insert, which collection we need to insert, and from where, from which file we are fetching the data. So this is the thing we have given, and now I'm going to just hit enter, and you can see it's first connecting, and it has imported 29,353 document in our, obviously, the learn Mongo zips collection. So let's first start the Mongo shell, and then I will go inside of our database, which is use learn Mongo, Now I will say show collections. We have new collection called zips, and I say db dot zips dot count document, and here we are. Now one thing we need to see is, what if I say db dot zips and we say find, I need to find all of the document. Is it going to really give me 29,353 data? Let's see. It is very fast, but it's not having all of the data. It's having only few section of the data. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and 20. Only 20 data are available. What about else? Like, what about more data? So it says that if you want the more data, you can use the IT. I just press IT and I get the next of the 20 data. Okay, so from this thing you can actually do a lot of things, but I want to know how much time does MongoDB server took to find me all the data. So if I say db dot zips dot find, but finding with some query. So what are the data we have? We have state with MA. Let's find the data with the state of MA. So state MA. This is the query we are going to do. Now that's good, but once again, how do I know how much time it took to execute this query? For that, let's go to the documentation. And on this section of MongoDB CRUD, we have a query optimization, and then we have an examine result. Yes, this is the thing we need to do, examine the result. And we can do that by using the explain method. How this is going to work, just append the explain method either on the starting or just after this zips.explain.find, or you can say zips.find, then you can do the explain. So let's try to do and see what we are getting. So when I do the same, but I'll say explain and it's a method, then we can get more information about the execution of the query instead of getting the real result. So it says explanation version 1, query planner, namespace, and more of the thing that is required for the query we are trying to do, which is this finding with the data of state. Now we need the execution time. Once again, for that we need the execution information. If you go once again on the documentation, it provides you this thing, explain version. So explain version, we have got it, but I am interested in I need to zoom out, and then actually I need to see execution stat. Yep, here we are. So we need to do the execution stat. How do we do that? We need to just pass the execution stat in our explain method. So we just need to say here inside this explain, say execution stats. Okay, now if I hit enter, we are getting the same result, but with added another object of execution stat. Here if you see, the thing we need to focus here is state, which is call scan, and need time. That means how much time it took to execute this query, 28 millisecond. Okay, so let's go once again on this explain result, and here if you see, we have these stage description. So call scan, that means collection scanning. So actually what it does, MongoDB actually go and see all of the data, and it says that hey, I need to find the state with MA for each of the document. It's reading each and every field, and then it's giving me the result. So this is really expensive task, and you can see it took me 28 millisecond if I consider it as a microsecond thing. Okay, or whatever time duration it has, it's really huge, 28,000 something, whatever it is. Okay, let's see. So how we can actually reduce this time and how we can make this query faster. In that case, the first one is the there is the query optimization, and the first one is create index to support read operation. Now, what is an index? So here it's given like, hey, where it's given? Yeah, if your application query collection are particular set, then index on the query field or a compound interest on the set of query can prevent query from scanning the whole document. How this is going to work? So think about index as a way of telling to the MongoDB that, hey MongoDB, I am going to filter out, or I'm going to do the where condition on this particular field only. So have a index information or have information about that field in a separate section, and whenever I filter, just go on that section and never look in the whole document or never look on the whole collection. Actually, how this is going to work? We first need to create the index for that field. How it's going to work? Once again, let's go and go here. So what is the field we are using to filter the things? We are using the state. This is the where condition field. Now I need to say db.zips dot create I, and then I'm going to hit tab, auto completed. Then here I will say inside an object I will use state as 1. When I say 1, when I say 1, it's actually going to use it as a ascending index. So it will index the document with the state only in a ascending order. If you want descending order, then just say -1. Okay, we have to create the index, and this is the way. When I hit enter, it's returning state underscore 1. That's the way of saying that everything is fine. And now what's going to happen? If I do the same query, see what's going to happen. If I just do the execution stat, this time, if I go, the real important thing inside the execution stat to see is there is two major changes. One is a stage. This time it's a fetch. And there is another stage which is called input stage, which is having a ix scan. Previously it was called scan, and now it's ix scan. Okay, and time need 0. Time need 0. Isn't it really good? Are you kidding me? 0? Really 0? Okay, so this is great. And execution time millisecond is 5. Okay, just 5. Previously it was 28. We had here time needed section. Okay, now so this is the amazing power of having an index on any field. So what if I am going to drop the index? So just like we have added the index, we can say I am going to drop the index. So db.zips.drop index, and dropping index for state field. Okay, and I think it's like this. Let me do this. No, so maybe I can do like here. State is not defined. State colon 1. Oh, it's removed. So index was 2. Okay, is 1. So it's removed. Now let's do the same query once again without indexing. And this time execution stat is taking me 28 millisecond once again, and back to the call scan 28 millisecond, and here you can see 5 millisecond. It's like 6 times faster with the help of indexing. Okay, so this is the power of indexing, and everything is given inside of the documentation. So this is the power for the query optimization you have inside the MongoDB. Okay, Let's do once again the query optimization by adding the index. For create index, state 1. Next, you can also do the indexing not just on the document but on the embedded document also. So what if I say zip dot find and finding everything, you can see we have the location, and location has 2 elements in an array. Suppose I want to fetch all that where location dot first element, that means the second index, or the first index, the second element, sorry, the first index and the element number 2 is greater than 42 point, let's say 1. So 42.1 should be greater than that. Let's do that. So zips dot find where, I need to say where condition, and I say like, hey, I need location, but the first element with the index of first has to be greater than, so dollar greater than of 42.1, and run it, and you can see whatever we are getting is having 42.1 greater than. Okay, so now let's examine this. So explain with the execution stats. Now we can see it took me 29 something, that means 31 millisecond. That's expensive, and also it's a call scan. Now let's create the index for this. So db.zips.create index for our location dot 1 index, and it's going to be 1, that means ascending. Hit enter, it's done, and now run the same query, and this time you can see execution time millisecond is 0. Yeah, it's 0 because everything is there, and the stage is ix scan. Okay, let's just understand what is ix scan. On the examine result, we can find, here is the one, ix scan means scanning index keys. Because we have added an index, so MongoDB will say that, hey, I have all the indexing for that key you are querying. I don't have to search for all the document you have inside the collection. That's going to be a fast, and that's why it's not an expensive task. It's not taking 31 millisecond. It's just doing instantly without any worry. So this is the one powerful thing you have for the query optimization, which is creating the index for your document. We can also do one more amazing thing, which is using the limit. So we can limit how many data we need. So suppose I say db.zips.find. Right now you can see it's giving me only 20 data. So how do we make sure we get more than 20 data, or maybe less than 20 data? So for getting less than 20 data, we can use the limit function or method actually. And here I will provide that I only need 5, let's say just 5. If I say that, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Only 5 element we are getting. But I want to get more than 20 and then do the limit, because I want to do a limit of, let's say 50, but for that we at least need to have more than 20 data directly inside our shell. How we can do that? So let's go on our documentation. Inside the documentation we can go on the Mongo shell, and here we have configuration, setting, and here you can see we have the display batch size. It's currently to 20. We can change it. This is just for our bash, or you can say just for our Mongo shell. It's not related to any other driver. So what I'm going to do here, I will say first config, and here I say config.set, I believe, yes, and this is saying like display batch size is equal to, let's say 500 this time. And now things are getting really crazy. because now it is changed. So that means if I do the find, I'm getting 500 data at a time. So maximum of 500 is required. So if I do this and I say explain this with the execution stats, run it, you can see it's taking 25 milliseconds to do all the things. But what if I say that, hey, I need to limit this data dot limit to just I need the first 20 element. If I do that, you can see instead of 25 something seconds, it's only doing that instantly. Need time 1 microsecond, which is almost 0, because we have limited the data. So if I change it to, let's say, 150 and then see, and this time it's again doing the same thing. And what if I say 450, and you can see when I define some limit, it's actually reducing the time with the stage of limit. And if I'm not having any limit, then it's actually scanning for all of the collection, and that's why it is taking more time, which should be 27 millisecond actually. And with the stat of limit, we can see the execution time in milliseconds is almost 0. So these are the way to optimize your query, and this is very, very important to have the limit on your execution, on your query execution. And this is how you can actually do some amazing optimization to make your query faster and less stress on the Mongo server. Now it is absolutely important to understand how you can do the aggregation, because you have the data. Maybe you want to do the grouping. You want to sum up some of the pricing and say that total pricing is like this. Maybe you want to count how many students you have in your database. All these things comes inside the aggregation. So the aggregation comes like this. You have the database, the collection, and then do the aggregation. And then you can define the matching, and then you can use the group, like how many group you want with which field. Let's start this understanding this in our data. We have zips collection, and we can see we are getting 500 data, which we have configured in the last episode. Now I just need to say, instead of find, I say aggregate. Now if I'm not doing anything, not giving any information, then what's going to happen? So it's giving me exactly 500 data and nothing else. Now I want to provide some aggregation related information, which is matching size of medium. What we have inside our database is we have city. So suppose I want to match with the city of this. Okay, maybe city should not be that. So maybe state with RI. Let's do that. So let's first see how we can do. In an array, we can define the first stage, which is for the matching. Okay, let's do that. And first I want to try db.zips.aggregate with first it's going to be an array, and then we should provide the first object with a match of state as RI. Now let's see what's going to happen. When I do that, you can see we just have the state RI and nothing else. And this is like doing the find thing. But aggregate is more powerful because we have this matching, and then as a second object or second element of this array, we can provide the information about group. So how this grouping is going to work. To understand group in better way, we need to open the documentation for the group inside the aggregate, and it says that first you need to define an ID field, which is not the exact ID. It's actually saying that ID means which field you want to use to do the aggregation or to do the grouping. And then you will say that which field you want to have, like accumulation and expression. So we can also get some example at the bottom. So we have all these things, and then we are first checking how many document we have. ID is null, that means no grouping, and we want the count, counting everything. Okay, so let's see, we will do this, and this time I say that hey, underscore ID is null, and do the count and create a field called count where I say count is everything. Now we have some issue. I think I have missed one, and this happened when you do this kind of like terminal thing. Yeah, now you can see 69 items are returned and grouped by null, that means grouping nothing, but count is 69 for RI. Let's find something else and see. RI is there and MAA is there also. So we can do the state with the MA. So see how many state we have with the value of MA. It's 474. That's really great. Okay, so this is good, and it's exactly like counting everything as count from the sale. So when we say this is the field or custom field we are creating with this kind of structure. Okay, here you can provide any other thing if you want. So see, we have this, and on this MA we can define that hey, the pop value should be greater than 4000. Let's try this. So match with state of MA, and pop is dollar greater than of, let's say, 4000. If I do this, 336 items are returned from the collection. Okay, let's understand this more. So here we can also provide the ID with any other field. So grouping by any other field. So how we can group that? So it says that you need to use the $sign before the field name, and then whatever you want to do for that grouping. So how this is going to work? This is going to work like if we just see what we have. Now we have this, and what we want to add, let's just imagine I want to add all the pop thing. I don't know what his pop means or pop means, but I just want to add up these values. So I will say, okay, give me all these things like here. So give me state MA, group by, this time I want to change the group and group by, let's say dollar state, which is the thing we are doing, or maybe we can call it city also. Then instead of count I can say total POP, and then I need the summation. So how do we do the sum? So $sum and provide the like condition or the field we want to have. So here also on the previous thing we can say provide the field name. So total pop will be like sum of the field called pop. Okay, so it's on the next line, so maybe I can move it like this. So yeah, so total pop is going to be the sum of this pop. So let's hit enter, and now you can see the ID is becoming the field which we have given, which is actually the city. So it's a grouping by city, and for each city, let's say we have a 5 city, and it's summing up all the 5 pop values and then giving us result like this. So this is the way we can do the aggregation, and it's just an introduction to aggregation because aggregation is having more powerful thing. If you go on the pipeline, you can find more other things. You can do matching, you can do grouping, and then you can do sorting also. So suppose I'm doing this and I want to sort by the total pop value. So I just need to say another thing here. So which is like the third argument will be sort $sort by the field name is total order and ascending. So in our case it's total pop and 1 in a descending way. So you can see first we have the lesser value and at last we have the maximum. Now if I change it to minus, then at the last we have least, and here we have the max value for the pop. So you can do many other things inside this. And finally, before closing this course, before closing this session, I just want to say explain this with the execution stats and see how many time it took. So it took almost 0 because it is doing with the indexing, because we have index on our state. So that's why it's not taking that much time even on the aggregation, and grouping is really expensive task on the databases. Okay, so I think you got the point how you can learn the MongoDB, because I have touched almost half of the documentation and more than half of the documentation, and I told you that how you can read the documentation if you are stuck somewhere, how you can search inside the documentation, and this is the real learning, not the command, not the functions you need to learn or methods you need to learn. You need to learn how to read the documentation, which we have touched here. Okay, so if you like this video, or if you want more these kind of videos, just give thumbs up and subscribe to Bitfume's YouTube channel, and comment your views, like how you like this course. Do you really want the extension of this course, or in which topic you want more videos on Bitfume's YouTube channel? See you on other videos, and till then don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Till then, goodbye.